Okay, all right. As I said, I want to make sure that the stream doesn't cut off the first couple seconds because much of the time the stream cuts off the first couple seconds. And I was watching this Steve Jobs interview. I mean, I'm just going to go over what I was kind of looking at. But this Steve Jobs interview, I'm sure Steve would love to have his hair captured so beautifully. And he even makes kind of like a physical comment about it somewhere in the interview. But I think this is really his shining interview. Like, it's interesting to consider it. Much of what is being discussed. So
really achieved a true proliferation in the society with the invention of the fractional horsepower electric motor. And at that point, the horsepower could be brought directly to where it was needed on a personal scale.
So it's interesting how a lot of people, have vilified or attacked Steve Jobs, saying he wasn't the technical, Wozniak was the technical mind that did it. But I think that only advocates how genius he was in his marketing, in his salesmanship, in his delivery, essentially. I mean, what he's doing in this interview is the definitive delivery. And you can tell by the look in his eye that he's really got it, right? And I think that's probably what a lot of business moguls were thinking in America at that time, watching Steve come up. They're like, that guy, he's really got something.
Cost justified for a small number of things. And we see the same thing, the same evolution if we examine the history of computing. The first computer, ENIAC, in 1946, was designed primarily for weather and ballistic calculations, very large tasks. And the next revolution in computing was in the 1960s with the invention of what's called time sharing.
So, time sharing takes place a lot in the modern context. We might come back to this. But the fact that Steve had to check out is only a strong testament to how much integrity the man truly had. Because I think at the end of the day, he was the kind of person who would strongly argue that money is not everything. I think he was forced to live it, though. And yeah, I can't help but think about how painful that is. But we're living in his miracle. You cannot say that without Apple we would be where we are right now. And so, as far as the new Tesla robot is concerned, the Tesla bot. I thought we might. I think honestly, this is the best marketing out of Tesla I've ever seen. The dance is it's perfect, honestly. What they're doing in this just this funny little pitch here. You could criticize it. You could say like, it's not professional or something like that. But yeah, I think a lot of people would try to say that about me. So I'm not always the most conservative character. But that's only because the people who I feel would contact me and address me about such serious issues refuse to do their jobs. So with regard to all the serious stuff that applies to me and my joviality in general, the little skull that I've got up in the corner of the screen, you could say, well, it seems like it's lacking in a certain reserved professionalism. As soon as you begin to address me about serious issues, I will be able to address those serious issues. But from my perspective, you're the joke. But like as far as this Tesla robot thing is concerned, it's pretty hot. Like I'm in my mind, I'm supposed to be filing legal administrative paperwork right now for serious legal matters that apply to me. That is my first priority. And the reason why I'm not doing it is because I'm not doing it at this exact present second. It is my first priority. So when it comes to my internal itinerary of work-related responsibilities, certain legal administrative paperwork is at paramount importance. But I'm trying to refine my submission to a very significant degree. So I'm taking my time, and in my opinion, all of the things that I've already requested of the judiciary of Canada in terms of judgments in relation to me should, for the sake of efficiency and the optimization of the justice system, should be given to me, or at least a direct point of contact where I can make digital submissions here could be extended unto me. Because thus far, every channel of available communication with the courts that has been made available to me is ineffective. So anyways, the Tesla bot, I thought this was freaking hilarious, and it just speaks again to, you know, from my perspective, Elon Musk was inspired by Steve Jobs to a very significant degree, and Elon Musk would not be Elon Musk without Steve Jobs. Simply because he conceptualized much of his inspiration while at Burning Man. And I would strongly suggest to you that he dropped acid at Burning Man, and the reason why Elon Musk is the visionary that he is because, just like Steve Jobs, he's dropped acid. And this is the dirty secret. Acid, LSD, is, you know, pretty far from being legalized. I don't, you know, I see them potentially legalizing psilocybin, but LSD, I'm not sure if it's going to be legalized anytime soon. So, from my perspective, and to all those people that are, you know, they're easing their way into psychedelic psychotherapy, personal discovery and stuff like that, you know, when you say that a synthetic is, you know, you're less inclined to use a synthetic than, you'd rather use psilocybin than use LSD on account of, the only reason is stigma. Like, LSD is, aside from the amount of chemical, which can be temperamental, it's no more harmful than psilocybin. Like, and in my opinion, both of these things are certainly no more harmful than alcohol. And from my perspective, alcohol is the most destructive drug there is. It makes you fat, it makes you lethargic, and it costs some money. Whereas, let's look at ephedrine hydrochloride. So, ephedrine HCl is a stimulant, and for $5 a bottle, I can buy ephedrine hydrochloride from the supplement store, and, you know, if you were to choose to become dependent upon alcohol or ephedrine hydrochloride, each one of them is going to have pitfalls. If you become too dependent upon ephedrine hydrochloride, it might hurt your heart. Anyways, this is too much of a divergence from what we're trying to talk about here. Yeah, you know, I really enjoy the topic of drugs, but I try to just balance out everything, you know what I mean? I definitely like talking and addressing drugs. So, what else have we got here? So, yeah, I mean, like, you know, Lex talking about the DMT elves and stuff like that just relates to drugs again. Oh yeah, this recent one from Linus Tech Tips, actually. There was this really amazing 200 camera setup that they did here. It's phenom. Like, what they've done here, Linus Tech Tips, dude, this thing is amazing. Supposedly it's half a terabyte per minute, but like, I applied to this company. I wanted to work with these guys, and yeah, they're doing good work, man. The one thing that I've said is that we should get a Spot Mini going on. Linus said that he doesn't want a Spot Mini, but when it comes to like programming algorithms for robotics and just supporting the industry in general, if I were in their position, I would buy a Spot Mini, or I would split it. I would crowdsource the purchase of a Spot Mini, because you have to support the industry. Boston Dynamics brought it to us first. You got to give it to them. Secondly, in terms of actually refining the technology in relation to what Tesla was doing, the big thing was the AI day, the actual real AI day. That's what I wanted to. That's what I wanted to get into. I was watching this quite a bit last night. So this is the this is the decapitator for the day, in my opinion. So yeah, maybe I'll start doing that on a regular. There's always going to be in all my streams, all of this style of my streams, there's going to be the decapitator, which is the number one action in the market, and right now it is AI Day. And I would say a close second is my friend's Linus Tech Tips. Yeah, because what Linus Tech Tips is doing in terms of implementation is pretty good.
So what we want to show today is that Tesla is much more than an electric car company, that we have deep AI activity in hardware, on the inference level, on the training level, and basically
Okay, so I have spoken in criticism or in skepticism of OpenAI previously with regard to GPT-3 and DALI. I said GPT-3 and DALI aren't all that. And Codex, this is what I want to focus on. So I already have joined the waitlist, but let's look at this, all right? Because as I was saying to Elon, like I tried to get the message to Elon. I think he may have received it. But potentially, I think there's a chance that what I wanted to say got to him. Somebody else certainly got it to him, because he did address the open source accessibility of the driverless. And when this company, Tesla, is developing their systems as such, that's the debate. How much can we make available the actual source? How open source can we get and still maintain enough profitability that we can be able to properly manage this? And I agree with Elon that you can't just make it all open source, because it kills their business. I fully agree that you can't just straight make it open source. But at the same time, there's got to be accessibility to certain version controls. There has to be a middle ground between totally closed off to open source, to the global free developer community. There's a balance. There's a balance that needs to be achieved. And for every fatality that occurs under this technology, I have a goddamn good point. For every person that dies while autopilot is engaged, I believe I have made my point. And there have been a couple. So ideally, you know, it's hard to say to somebody who is working very hard to produce a very, very advanced technology, it has to be perfect. But I think that's exactly my point, is that I'm suggesting that some of the greatest minds in programming today are independent or freelance developers. I know some of these guys. And if you act as if they're not, or we're not, intelligent and able to potentially contribute to the benefit of this technology, you're lying. So there's a balance. I'm not saying you have to surrender your company to us. I'm simply saying that I have some form of point for every fatality, for every crash that occurs under autopilot, for every fender bender. I have a point. Hope you feel me. And
put everything into a common virtual camera. We pass them through RegNets, residual networks.
So it's important also to consider the aesthetic. They've done a great job of preparing the visual aesthetic so that it's nice, it's entertaining, and they switch it up. It's almost like watching a electronic music video. Oh, and to Tesla, I would love to assist as your junior music director or something like that. What would I like to do with Tesla? Please, Tesla, consider hiring
them
me.
into a
There you
number
go.
of features at different scales. We fuse the multi-scale information with BiFBN. This goes through a transformer module to re-represent it into the vector space in the output space. This feeds into a feature queue in time or space.
The reason why I'm so critical, they've done an excellent job. They're doing everything that they can do, but there's no way to lock down all of the control variables. Reality is more infinite than that. And that's what I'm talking about, is it's always more. And that's what essentially open source is. As soon as you make something open source, it's always getting to more. And there's a huge caveat, there's a huge issue in opposition of the point that I'm trying to make, and I'm willing to acknowledge it, is that that allows for black hats, right? We're going to use the deeper knowledge that we now possess. So yeah, I guess that point alone, you could say, obliterates my argument. But I'm still posing my statement because I'm a white hat, or like I come from a different perspective than that. So I guess if we were to be debating this, I would anticipate that would be Elon's best point, right? Is that we're going to give black hats a better hand.
It gets processed by a video module, like the spatial RNN, and then continues into the branching structure of the HydroNet, with trunks and heads for all the different tasks. And so that's the architecture roughly what it looks like today, and on the right you are seeing some of its predictions, sort of visualized both in a top-down vector space and also in images. So definitely, this architecture has definitely complexified from just a very simple image-based single network about 3 or 4 years ago and continues to evolve. Now, in the beginning, roughly 3 or 4 years ago, most of our labeling was...
Yeah, it is essentially evolving exponentially. Still, apart from the fatalities, for every glitch that occurs within my interface, my Windows GUI, for every glitch that occurs, I have a good point, because that glitch could lead to a fatality on the road, if occurring in a different context. So, unfortunately, when it comes to digital,
in image space. And so you can imagine that this is taking quite some time to annotate an image like this, and this is what it looked like, where we are sort of drawing polygons and polylines on top of these single individual images. As I mentioned, we need millions of vector space labels.
All I'm saying to these guys, to anybody who is in this specific vector-based analysis, visual data processing facet, is that there are other opportunities. With the robot that now Tesla has, Tesla, buy Boston Dynamics. Tesla, buy Agility Robotics. I think that's the best way to go. They've already put in tons of work, and you'd be starting from a much better vantage point. So yeah, that's what I would say. Tesla, buy Boston Dynamics off the bat from Hyundai. Buy Hyundai. What's the market cap of Hyundai? That's a different question. But wait. So what was I getting at? So everybody that is working in this specific issue, I don't know. I want to get that Codex. I got to get Codex here. So we're going to go to OpenAI. I got to get my hands on this, and then we can start doing actual tests. So join the waitlist, which I believe I already have. So here's what I'm going to do over the next 10 minutes. I don't want to enter my personal information here. Okay. Or I will for the camera. So which I'm interested in Codex. No, I don't want that one. Build a new product, integrate into existing product, general exploration of the capabilities, general exploration of the, if I have an idea you want to use web API. So I have an idea for a specific web API. Where's my GitHub profile? Am I a journalist? No, I'm not a journalist. I am over 18, even though I look very young and vibrant with youth. So where's my GitHub? Okay, I gotta go to my GitHub here. Git. And I suggest you all do the same, because this is really where it's at. You know? So let's see if they give it to me. Okay, boys, if you guys are honest, you gotta give it to me. OpenAI, you gotta give it to me. I'm gonna upload this video and I'm gonna send it to them as a link in here. So I'm gonna cut the vid and I'm gonna send them a link to this video right here, because I want this. I want Codex. I wanna implement it and really give her.